No doubt people are really trapped in the mindset of mediocrity and backwardness. And that's what we're seeing right now. The fiat money world that's gotten too bloated, too big, too irresponsible. And so now we can defund that fiat money world by taking that capital, removing it from their clutches and putting it into our own hodled wallet. And they therefore have nothing to work with. They either have to adapt, they have to become Bitcoiners themselves, or they will perish. And that's the frontier that we are now on. Everyone has to make that decision. I think the future is a totally decentralized state where all the wealth of the nation and the state itself is broke. And I think that's where we're headed. Decentralization of governance, decentralization of money. And what we're seeing with Bitcoin there is really Renaissance 2.0, really.
Bitcoin is down nearly 9%, leaving investors anxious after the recent market crash. But Max Keiser warns this is only the beginning. A Bitcoin tsunami is coming that will transform crypto forever. He says the collapse of the global fiat system is inevitable, and powerful institutions like BlackRock are already positioning themselves to control the space. With Bitcoin sitting around $110,500, Keiser believes the real threat isn't the price drop, but what happens when governments and corporations move in. He argues that nations must adopt Bitcoin now and make it part of the global economy before the old system breaks down. Keiser predicts that once this shift begins, massive capital will pour into Bitcoin, driving it to new highs. He calls it the biggest financial transformation of our lifetime, one that could redefine money itself. Still paying taxes on your crypto gains? What if you didn't have to? With ITrust Capital, you can buy and sell crypto inside a tax-advantaged IRA, giving you a smarter way to grow your portfolio without worrying about capital gains tax. That's why they're the #1 crypto IRA platform in America, with billions in tax-advantaged transactions. There are multiple ways to fund your account. You can make a contribution, transfer an existing IRA, or roll over an old 401k or employer plan. You'll get access to a wide range of digital assets, low fees, and 24/7 trading, all backed by secure, one-to-one asset ownership with institutional-grade custody. And if you have questions, ITrust Capital offers 100% US-based customer support with real people ready to help. Click the link, use code DOSE7, and get your $100 funding bonus today. Start building your crypto wealth, tax-advantaged, with ITrust Capital.
There shouldn't be panic because the world we live in now is a fake world that's been created with the hologram of fiat money. And in that hologram of fiat money, many weird things are going on. Traditional values that held society together for thousands of years are being tossed out the window. Just like basic values. It's just a very basic idea that like a moral value or an ethical value or like mathematical certainty, 2 + 2 = 4. And it's like the people who, again, proof of stake or fiat money breeds a cacistocracy. That would be the rule of the worst amongst us. And because they can print more money to pass new laws to make it easier for them to print more money. And it's centralization, it's hyper-centralization. And it's happening now. And unlike at any period in history before, though, there's going to be a cohort of folks who own Bitcoin. And those people are going to move to El Salvador, where Bitcoin is legal tender. So there'll be a mad rush. Like when people are given something like this for free, they don't place any value to it. And it's difficult to handle as you to secure your Bitcoin. And is this a problem of Bitcoin? Well, I mean, I would say, what if I were to hand you a Fabergé egg right now, and it's worth $60 million? There's only X number of Fabergé eggs in the world. I think like less than 100. And so you're going to say like, well, I'm not sure how to store it, so I don't want it. I mean, I don't think you would say that, because you would obviously know that the value of that Fabergé egg, you could verify it and say, this is actually a $90 million Fabergé egg. I'm going to figure out how to store it properly. I don't care if I have to spend $10,000. It's $90 million. So that's why people still have a problem understanding the value proposition of Bitcoin. So the learning needed to properly secure your Bitcoin is a barrier, one barrier too many. It's just like, I can just go to my bank account. It's so easy. I got my card. Why do I need to go through all this? And I'm getting this free Bitcoin. And it's, nerve-wracking. I mean, again, I'm a boomer, so even the people with money tend to be older. They tend to be boomers. And like boomers, when I go to my bank, I'm with other boomers and they bring in their laptops and they're like, I'm trying to open your app and I can't get it to open, and the teller's like, push this button. And they're like, oh, thank you. And they waited in line for 30 minutes for that. This is like not easy for somebody who grew up without calculators. I remember when the calculators came around in the late 70s, it's like, wow, you can, we don't have to use a slide rule, but the younger millennials and Gen Z don't have money, right? They're broke, so they don't have capital. But so you need values, you need character, you need to resist the temptation of the easy gain and all that other stuff. But that's institutionally, the institutions that support society are crumbling along with the fiat money, and we're generally at the end of an empire. So. Rome, of course, is used as a comparison. And if you look at the end of Rome, so it's an enormously corrupt, like late stage empire. So it has all the characteristics. Then we're just in the denarius, which was the unit of coin. Of course, we know the coin clipping that went on is a form of inflation to debase the currency, and they couldn't afford to pay their military anymore. So here you have money printing or debasing the currency. Is America military preparedness at where it should be? So we're going to go from 200% debt to GDP to 500% debt to GDP? Well, doesn't that imply that your currency is now worthless, essentially? And who's buying these U.S. treasuries? Well, I'll tell you who's buying U.S. treasuries. The United States is buying U.S. treasuries. They're printing money to buy back their own debt. And so Bitcoin allows humans to realize that potential in ourselves. And I think the timing is interesting because it's seemingly at the moment humans are on a path toward almost an extinction event. They're so dysfunctional with what's happening politically around the world.
Max Keiser, known for his unwavering optimism toward crypto, predicts that another major collapse is on the way. He points out that major players like BlackRock and other institutions are already preparing for this shift in the market. Despite the looming volatility, Keiser remains confident that Bitcoin's long-anticipated surge is coming. He believes its price will rise exponentially in the second half of 2025, marking a powerful rebound for the crypto space.
It's like the greed button is too greedy. So Bitcoin is turning greed into altruism. Like the greed to get more sats increases the security, which makes it a competing asset class and demonetizes fiat money. So by appealing to our worst instinct, the greedier you are, the better for Bitcoin. But it's also going to save humans from themselves if you demonetize fiat money. So that clock is ticking. And I think in El Salvador, when you're here, you've been here, you would palpably feel a sense of hope and that's really unique in the world. Everywhere else you go, people have a dark cloud hanging down over them. There's a long black shadow hanging over me. Like there's that sense of doom. There's a doom, and it's for good reason. So here they're coming out of their doom, and so I saw that with Bitcoin, unlike anything else, it had that decentralized aspect to it, and the way the incentives are perfectly aligned and beautifully constructed, and so it's essentially a gaming currency that jumped out of the game. So with my currency, the Hollywood dollar, as part of the Hollywood Stock Exchange, decentralized currency, and you're always thinking about how do we get this into the general population, right? But and we had an exchange rate on eBay for a while where you could swap out 1 million to 1 was the exchange rate. And so we were trying to always make the connection. But, you're saying our centralization is better than your centralization. You're like, well, our centralization is backed by the Pentagon, so you lose. right? So that you can't really compete with the Pentagon because they have all the tanks and the weapons. I'm talking about the U.S. dollar, of course. And so, but Bitcoin, because it is decentralized, right? It jumps out of the game. It jumps out of the simulation. It jumps out of the, I mean, there's been some really interesting virtual currencies, like the Linden dollar of Second Life is really interesting. It was a very interesting economy. And that was something that I was, always interested in. The Hollywood Stock Exchange, we had our own central bank. We had an investment bank. We had, the virtual specialist technology is very interesting in itself. And so when Bitcoin came around, like I had that already in my head, so I saw that if it could jump out of the game, it could compete with everything else. So therefore it could be a lot bigger. Also, to the extent that I knew immediately that banks would hate it, central banks would hate it. And so I'm always open to anything that banks will hate, central banks. I worked in Wall Street for many years. And so, it's fun to play that game. Like this is better than, like, the Bitcoin trade is the best trade in history. So now Bitcoin was compounding at 150%, 200%. I think it's at around 70%. And so obviously it crushes everything on Wall Street. So that's also fun for me as a former stockbroker to be like, my Bitcoin will crush you, right? So it's a bit of, competitive streak there, which is fun, and then like even today, some hedge fund managers like Bill Ackman, he's like, what is this Bitcoin thing? It's like, Phil, it's been outperforming you. We'll continue to outperform you. You'll never beat Bitcoin. So it's just fun to know that every single money manager alive today will never beat Bitcoin. Because usually I'm talking about economics, finance, banking, and so it's, I just slotted into that what was already there. So I guess I was just had a good mindset for it. But if somebody's coming to it completely cold and completely fresh and they don't know anything about it, it's a really hard leap to make. I mean, it's almost impossible. It's almost an impossible leap to make, to go from just completely cold to get to understanding and Bitcoin, really. I mean, it's almost impossible.
Max Keiser warns that the Bank of Japan's potential default could trigger a global economic collapse. He blames the downfall of fiat systems, reckless money printing, and rising inflation for driving the world toward a financial breaking point. With debt soaring and central banks failing to stabilize economies, Keiser believes the US and other nations are heading toward either hyperinflation or a deflationary depression, both leading to a decline in living standard. He suggests that Bitcoin could become the alternative as traditional systems crumble, noting that even political leaders are beginning to discuss it as part of a future financial framework. Could Bitcoin truly serve as the solution to the global debt crisis? And do you believe central banks will ever embrace a Bitcoin standard? Share your thoughts in the comments. For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.